What's going on, YouTube? We're back again. This is part 2 of assembling my engine. My name is Colin Crane. I am part of the NightHourCrew. We're gonna be putting a camshaft in this motor. We're running a Summit Performance camshaft. This is a stage 4 cam, but stage 4 numbers don't mean a whole lot to anybody. So right up here in the corner, we're gonna post a picture of the spec sheet for the camshaft. The cam looks super nice. Let's take a look. We've had pretty good luck with Summit Performance parts. I don't know who makes their camshafts, but they do a pretty good job. For lubricant, we're gonna use some Permatex Ultra Slick. This stuff works really well for camshafts, engine assembly in general. See if we can't get her started here, huh? A little trick I'm sure you guys have seen all over the internet. You can use some old water pump bolts as a handle on the front of the cam. Just gives you something to hold on to. Makes it a little easier to slip it inside the block. Whoa, just a little bit. Don't push it too far. All right, cam installed. Next, we've got a full new timing chain set, new water pump, or no, excuse me, new oil pump. So in this box, we have the timing chain set. We've got a new crank gear, new cam gear, new chain, and also a chain tensioner. Some of the LSs have threaded holes here and here where you can kind of put a center chain tensioner there. This one happens to have it, so we're gonna try and run it. I think keeping that chain from slacking around is a good thing. This is our oil pump, Melling. This is a standard volume, high pressure Melling oil pump. It was the one recommended by my engine builder, so we're gonna give it a try and see what happens. I have the same oil pump in my Turbo Silverado, and it's been awesome. Timing chain set, I mean, really nothing fancy. New crank gear, new chain. Here's that tensioner we were talking about. Coming from Michigan Motorsports, this did come with ARP studs for the cam, so that's pretty cool. $100, came with ARPs and everything. I know ARP has separate torque specs sometimes for a lot of their hardware. I'm gonna look up and make sure these aren't any different than factory. Actually, I need to put the chain on before I put those all the way in there. All right, so I found a brass punch and a rubber mallet. I'm gonna try and run this on there just a little bit. It's got about, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch before it bottoms out on the crankshaft surface there. It's working, slowly. Almost there. All right, we got our flush. Let's see if we can get this timing chain on there. Okay, I know we need to be dot to dot. I'm gonna have to rotate this crank around a little bit. Dot to dot. Ooh, easy. So you can see we've got the dots lined up, cam and crankshaft. Now I'm gonna look up the torque spec for the cam gear bolts and we'll get that torque down. All right, I've got my trusty Snap-on digital torque wrench. I looked it up online. ARP says 25 foot-pounds for these bolts. We're going to see if we can't tighten them without holding the cam and crank. Then we also have the chain tensioner. Like I said, not all LSs have this, but this one does, so I figured why not. This just slips in here. There's 2 threaded bolts in the block. I don't think it's as crucial to torque these. Obviously, you don't want this to fall out, but I'm not gonna look up the torque spec. We're just gonna send it. Whenever you're setting up timing, it's a good idea to rotate the motor around a couple of times, make sure that your timing marks stay lined up. This is pretty simple, but when you have something a bit more intricate, let's say a V8 with dual overhead cams and a huge chain, very important to make sure things stay timed once you rotate it around. So you'll notice once we make 2 rotations, we get dot to dot once again. Next, we're gonna move on to the oil pump. We'll try and get the oil pump on there, centered the way it's supposed to be. This is our new engine oil pump. We're gonna kind of look in here and see what things look like. There are a few different ways that you can kind of center up an oil pump like this. There are some people that will actually shim this piece that rotates around, pull the front cover and shim it all the way around to make sure it's centered. There are also people that will place it on the engine, it goes this way, place it on the engine loosely with these bolts, and then rotate the motor around 2 rotations, and it should kind of auto center, and then you don't have to take apart your brand new oil pump. I'm gonna read the instructions, and I'm gonna see what they recommend, and we're just gonna follow that. But new oil pump looks pretty nice. Like I said, this is standard pressure, but high volume, Melling number 10295 for standard volume. So I read through the instructions for the oil pump. It doesn't really talk about centering the drive gear inside of here with shims or anything like that. I'm just gonna throw it on and rotate the motor around a couple times with the bolt loose to hopefully center it. And that should be good enough. I did pre-lube this, I put some oil in there. It does talk about the O-ring. There's 2 different O-rings. You've got a black one and a green one. Really, it depends on your pickup tube style. I figured out that I need the black one for my pickup tube. Let's see if we can't get this oil pump on there, huh? So I'm just gonna put these in hand tight. I looked up the torque spec for these, it's 18 foot-pounds. Next is the front timing cover gasket. All right, I've got my timing cover. This is just a stock cover that we cleaned up, kind of polished it a little bit, make it look a little bit nicer. We've got an alignment tool, a brand new front crank seal, as well as, oh, this goes this way.
They make alignment tools for these?
Front timing cover seal. I actually 3D printed this alignment tool, and it fits directly over the crankshaft, so it'll make sure that your front main is directly aligned. So. We'll just make sure they're all tight. We're gonna flip over the motor now and put on the girdle, the windage tray, the oil pickup tube, engine oil pan. You can see how the new oil pump and timing chain look from the inside. They look super clean. Not that way, this way.
Put the pin in it.
Oh, it says rear.
Give me some of them, I'll work on this side.
Yeah, there's a couple that hold the pickup tube as well. I believe this one, might be this one as well.
You can see a little marking on that.
Let me grab the pickup tube.
These 2 have a little squaredness going on.
Yeah, so the pickup tube will be
That one.
just that one. We ended up going with a double hold down for the engine oil pump. You can see from the factory, there's only 1 bolt. And I've never personally seen it, but they say the pickup tube can kind of tilt out of place and it can cause a leak. They sell billet adapters like this one that allow you to use both bolt holes. So we're gonna go ahead and do that just for a little extra insurance. Is it necessary? I don't know, but it seems like a good idea.
Definitely grind
That
down.
weld is impeding. I'm gonna go put a little divot in this so it'll clear that weld and we can still use our double holder. See, we got a little divot in there so far. I'm just using a carbide bit on a die grinder, give a little relief cut to clear that weld. Who would have thought putting the extra bolt in there would be such a pain. Looks seated, looks tight. We had the clearance for the weld, it finally worked. All right, pickup tube is on, windage tray. I think we need to do the rear main next, rear cover, then we can do the oil pan. Hey, guess what? We forgot the cam retainer plate. All right, guys, we're back. Midway through putting the front of the motor together, I realized I forgot the cam retainer plate. So off camera, we pulled it all apart, took the oil pump off, took the front cover off, put the cam retainer plate on, put it all back together. And here we are. We're ready to put the oil pan on. We also put the rear main seal on during the little bit of a hiatus. When you put these oil pans on, you gotta put a little bit of silicone between the front and rear covers in the oil pan, in this area and this area, all the way around, just to prevent any leaks. I like to do just like maybe 1/8 inch bead or so across there. You really don't need much. Regular old oil pan gasket. We are using a Holley oil pan. This is kind of low profile, helps it fit in the BMW chassis. You can kind of see where it was rubbing on the subframe or on the power steering rack before. That's because I had some bad motor mounts. I have since replaced the motor mounts, so hopefully we don't have that problem anymore. Now we're gonna work on getting this torqued down. I think she looks good with the oil pan on there. Next, we'll be doing lifters, lifter trays, cylinder heads, valley cover. We're gonna try and install this crank pulley. You can see we got the motor turned back over. I've got an installation kit that'll help us press it on there. I know you can kind of drag it on with the bolt, but sometimes the bolt doesn't reach and there's some things going on there. This tool threads into the crankshaft, and then you have kind of a press tool that goes on these threads that'll help press this pulley in further. I'm gonna run this in until it stops. And then this piece will press the pulley into place. Some people don't like to use an impact. We're gonna send it. Okay, we got the big guns out. Oh man, socket's not deep enough. All right, we're gonna put it on the rest of the way with the crank pulley bolt. We're just gonna put a little sealant on the crank pulley bolt to prevent any oil from leaking past. From the factory, they come with Loctite on there. I'm reusing the bolt. I know that's kind of taboo, but that's all I got at the moment, so we're gonna go for it. Is she tight? Looks like it's all the way down, looks pretty good. Now we're gonna move on to the lifters and lifter trays. All right, we're gonna put the lifters in. These have been soaking in oil for, well, a couple of days now. Cool. We're just gonna put it in upside down. Very slippery. Ah! Oh my gosh. There we go. One. On this side. They go in nice though. If you get them lined up, they go in nice. Then we're gonna try and put these lifter trays in. You gotta make sure the lifters are lined up. They've got little flat spots on them. So you get the flat spots kind of up and down, and then this should sort of slip over the top of all of them. Like so. And the new lifter trays came with a little 10mm bolt, goes in here. I don't know if I can get these out with my oily hands. Oh, just kidding. Got it. So I'm just gonna go through and clean up my mess. I got oil everywhere because those lifters were soaked. The reason you soak the lifters, there could be air trapped in there. It's just, you could get away without it, really. But it's good practice to soak them. Get all the oil out of there that you can. That way you're not risking bearing failure or damage to the cam due to lack of lubricant. Also, you wanna make sure you've got your head gasket surfaces clean and dry. I'm wiping the excess oil off now, but I'm gonna brake clean them, make sure that they're very, very clean and dry before I put those head gaskets on. Always use a clean microfiber, something that's not gonna leave debris in there. All right guys, we're back. There's a few people in the shop working on their projects after hours, so don't mind the noise. We're gonna put the head gaskets on. We've got ARP head studs for this, and we're gonna start putting the head studs in. We're running BTR head gaskets. Hello, Brian, welcome. welcome. These are for a 6 liter or 6.2 liter. They're a multi-layer steel type gasket. Front? Front? Yes. Yes, we're good. Oh, thank you. So the idea here, run them until they bottom out, but don't apply any torque. So if you can feel it bottom out, probably finger tight, it's good enough. I have used much less expensive head bolts in the past, and they felt wobbly going in. It was kind of terrifying. This time we sprung for some ARPs, and they already feel so much better.
Yo, chill.
Everything's fine. I got one more.
Edge.
All right, so we're getting our washers cleaned up. You are supposed to remove the oil from both sides of the washers before you torque them. You don't want any oil on the bottom side of the washer because it could change the torque value when you torque them down. The washers come with kind of a textured side. You can't really see it on camera, but one side is textured and one side is not. The textured side goes down. So we're just getting them brake cleaned up. We're gonna get all these washers installed, and then we're gonna work on torquing these down. With the ARP fasteners, they come with assembly lube. You're supposed to lube the threads as well as the top side of the washer and the bottom side of the nut. So I'm gonna go through and try to squeeze some of this in there. It might be easier to put it on the nut. What do you think? I think so. So the ARP head studs come with instructions on how to torque them. They do have a little bit different torque sequence than the factory recommends. The torque sequence is the same, but the torque spec is different. So we're gonna run through the torque spec, get everything torqued down, and get these heads installed. So the first step is 25 foot-pounds. All right, we're moving on to step 2 for this cylinder head. We're gonna torque all the big bolts to 50 foot-pounds now. Now we're on to the third step of the sequence, which is 80 foot-pounds in the same sequence on only the larger bolts. And now the fourth step is to torque all of the small ones up top to 28 foot-pounds. So we've got one head done. We're gonna move on to the other side. Heads are torqued. Heads are torqued. I will say installation of the ARP head studs, way better than the cheaper versions that I've used in the past. They are worth the money, for sure. Much smoother install, no wobbly bolts, everything feels right. And they look so good, so good. All right, we got the heads torqued down. We're gonna be installing the lifter valley pan, the crankshaft position sensor, and the camshaft position sensor. This is just a factory lifter valley pan. We spent some time making it look nice. I put new seals in the bottom for the knock sensors. I'm gonna put a little oil in these seals so they don't pinch and tear. Fits very nice. Fits very nice.
It's so pretty.
It looks so good. Yeah. It's coming together, coming together. And now we're gonna install our knock sensors. It's pretty important to torque your knock sensors. If you don't torque them, they might read incorrectly. You could also crush the crystal that's inside of there that actually reads the spark knock. We are torquing these to 15 foot-pounds as per manufacturer specification. Knock sensors installed. So we've got the motor together. I'm gonna try and put these push rods in there. These are a factory length push rod. We still need to check push rod length. I'm really hoping that they're just the right length. And I'm gonna pre-lube them as if this is going to be their resting place. We will double check it, but again, we're using the Permatex Ultra Glide. We're just gonna lubricate the tip of each one before we stick them down in there. Stuff is gooey. We're going to be using factory rocker arms on this build. They do have a trunnion upgrade. They're the same rocker arms and trunnions that I had on the other engine. So they don't look quite as new and nice as these, but they're still solid. We went through and checked all the trunnions look good. Nothing's out of place. There's no pitting or weirdness, so we're just gonna reuse them. Push rods installed. All right, we're gonna get our rocker arms set on here. You see I pre-lubed the top of those push rods. Then we're gonna go through and torque all these down and try our best to measure push rod length. From what I understand, you're gonna run these bolts in until they're snug and there's no slack. You make sure the push rod is all the way down. And then you're going to count the rotations of the bolt, how much it takes to get it actually tight after everything is snugged by hand. If it's one rotation, push rod length is okay. If you need more than one rotation, the push rods might be too short. If it takes less than a full rotation, your push rods could be too long. So we're gonna go ahead and get both sides installed and do our best to check push rod length and see if these push rods are gonna work for our build. So I misspoke in that last clip. If it takes more than one full rotation from zero lash, your push rod is too long. So you're having to collapse the lifter further to get it to proper torque. I'm gonna go through and torque all these, and then I'm gonna loosen a couple, and we're gonna try and check push rod length and see how close we are to what we want. I'm torquing all these to 25 foot-pounds. I have torqued all the rocker arms down, got all the push rods in there. I rotated the motor around probably 6 or 8 times just to make sure everything is seated and in its place. These two are on the base circle of the camshaft, and I've loosened them. You can see I can turn them by hand. Now, if I understand the process correct, I'm going to lift this up and down. You can see the lash there. And I'm going to adjust this until there's zero lash, where it's not moving up and down at all. It'll still wiggle back and forth because it's not tight. And this is kind of the preliminary step for checking push rod length. Now I'm going to turn this and see how many rotations it takes to get to 25 foot-pounds. And depending on the number of rotations it takes, will kind of tell you if your push rods are too long or too short. I've got my torque wrench set to 25 foot-pounds. We're going to start, let's say 12 o'clock. So we have one rotation and a half. Oh, keep going. So we got about 1 3/4 rotations. My push rods are too long. I should be more in like the 3/4 turn to 1 1/4 turn range if the push rods were correct. So I'm gonna have to order a set of push rods that are a bit shorter. I'm not sure exactly how much shorter yet. I'm gonna have to do some research, but at least we know that I do need shorter push rods. We'll have to get some in the mail so we can get this thing put together. All right, guys, this is the end of the video. We need to order some new parts. We've got some exciting things to come. Here's a little sneak peek. You can see how nice she looks. Stay tuned for the rest of the series. I appreciate you being here.
Goodbye!